it seems like more and more our generation, Generation Z, is the most depressed generation of all time. And I'm pretty sure Gen Alpha might take that spot. We'll have to see with how technology progresses. But for a lot of kids, I feel like my age, um, the immediate jump to the gun thing should be to go on some sort of medication, go on some sort of treatment to help alleviate this. And while I 100% acknowledge that medication is absolutely necessary for a lot of people, I think, the best solution can start off with, understanding how this world works, understanding yourself, the engineering of the body. And, I think that could help a lot of people who might be in that kind of middle ground. It's almost similar as to say, let's say you're 10 pounds overweight and you'd like to lose weight. The immediate solution may not be to use Ozempic. I'm not doubting that Ozempic works and, it's a life-saving, life-changing drug. But I think for a lot of people, making that jump is not something that they're willing to take. So if you were in that spot, and I feel like a lot of students and Gen Zers are in that spot, I would say I have some, tidbits of knowledge that I could share from the Bhagavad Gita. This is my second iteration of Bhagavad Gita lessons on, what is depression? What do we think about depression according to Krishna, according to Vedic, Hindu, and melting into Buddhist philosophy here. Now, when I think of depression in complete layman's terms, I think depression is that idea of wanting to attain to all of your desires at once. We live in a scarce world. Any economist will tell you that, right? We have unlimited desires and there are limited resources, of course, but putting the resources aside, focusing on that idea of limited desires. Every day I wake up desiring a lot of things, right? My hair doesn't look good, my body doesn't, function how I want it to. I'm not as athletic as I want to be, or I'm not as smart as I want to be. I'm not as talented. Even small things, my coffee is too hot, my pictures don't look right, I'm tired in class. All these little desires impact us one way or another, fatigue us greatly. I think depression really starts to hit for most people when, you want to attain all these desires at once. You want to fix, so to speak, all these desires. And so we're going to work through that, I guess, throughout this video. I want to start off with probably one of the most famous quotes in the Bhagavad Gita is coming from chapter 2, verse 20. It reads something along the lines of, "The soul is neither born nor does it ever die, nor having once existed, does it ever cease to be. The soul is without birth, eternal, immortal, and ageless. It is not slain when the body is slain." This is kind of the whole concept of that there is no self. We are our souls, and that's within every, human body. But ultimately, it would be like asking you the question, where does my hand end and where does my arm begin? You can't find that exact start point. You can generalize it, of course, but you can't find that start point. And what that really is trying to hone in is that, we have to detach ourselves from this material, sort of elusive world that I'm experiencing this world as concrete and 100%. Before this, Krishna says in chapter 2, verse 14, "O son of Kunti, Arjun, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course, are like appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed." So here Krishna is comparing, our senses of happiness and distress to the seasons. Have you ever found yourself, when you're alone at night, by yourself, maybe just kind of scrolling on your phone, you tend to feel more depressed. But when you wake up, the weather's nice, you're breathing in the fresh air, you feel happy. And then he also talks about, how this is sort of like, the winter and summer seasons. Seasonal depression is a very real thing. I'm here in Columbus, Ohio, and when it was finally hit that 60-degree mark, I just felt so good, just for whatever reason. I think that's really indicative of understanding that these emotions come and go constantly, and letting them flow in and out like water. Detaching yourself, absorbing, um, and observing those thoughts. Um, that's what's really going to lead you to success. And now we talk about inner peace. So later in chapter 2, verse 47, Krishna goes, "You have the right to perform your prescribed duties, but you are not entitled to the fruit of your actions. Never consider yourself the cause of your results of your activities, nor be attached to inaction." So this idea is plain and simple, right? The duties we have on this earth. Someone might ask me, Aryan, what are my duties? What are my responsibilities? Think about all the things that make you, wake up in the morning, speaking directly to Generation Z, right? Many of you want to be successful computer engineers. Many of you want to be successful lawyers and doctors and maybe even content creators. Um, you can do those, and pursue them as much as possible. But like I said in the last video, attaching yourself to the fruits of your actions to say, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to talk to this person. I want to get to know this person. Maybe I want to date this person. Maybe I want to, get a relationship with this person. Is it because of the fruits of that actions? Will you feel pleasure with that person? Will you feel pleasure, temporary sense pleasure from pursuing, something academic? If that's the answer, then you're never going to be happy. You're never going to be happy because there's just more and more and more that you crave. So, I made too many videos on love because it's a very interesting topic for me. But love in itself should be, the act of service, the service I am bringing towards this person, this unconditional devotional service that I'm bringing to this person. That in itself should be rewarding and fulfilling. The person you're with should never be expected to, give you some sort of senses, some sort of emotional dopamine rush kind of hit. And you're just in it for the wrong reasons, unfortunately. And I think that's why a lot of relationships and couples fizzle out. Because, that sense pleasure is going to keep hitting like a drug. And eventually it's going to wear off and you're going to ask yourself, why was I with this person? Was I with this person for the wrong reasons, Now you want to talk about controlling the mind. And in chapter 6, verse 6, Krishna goes, "For one who is conquering the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his very mind will be the greatest enemy." This is the idea that, your mind is everything, right? Um, a lot of people, I feel like, who are depressed are battling that inner voice with their mind that's saying, hey, look, why are you like this? Why you look ugly? You look this, all these self-intruding thoughts. But one who's, at harmony with their mind, one who sees the mind instead of saying, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about my failures, I'm thinking about this, use the phraseology, I notice that I'm thinking about this. Why am I thinking about this? And, you're going to find yourself a lot better off, in my opinion. And last and not least, and then I'll tie this all together, the power of meditation is not to be messed around with. I recently, got one of my buddies to start meditating. Never meditated before, comes from a Christian family, Christian upbringing, where meditation's not very common, And meditation is simply this. You're not going to have to, feel your toes and notice the breeze or all these kind of things that these apps try to push. It's more so just becoming at terms with this physical, elusive nature that you are in. And like I said, if your mind goes berserk, let it be berserk. If your mind can't think about anything, let it think about nothing. Your mind, when you're meditating, should not be, I should, or I ought to do this. It just should be, okay, whatever happens, happens, and I'm going to do this for a set amount of time. There are certain techniques, focus on your breathing, sit still, crisscross applesauce, but the fundamental idea should be the same of just letting your mind just free and stop putting barriers on it, like we do with, a lot of institutional programs, and maybe whether it's corporate culture in school to really pressure your mind to think and feel a certain way. Just let it loose, see where it goes, see where it takes you. Now, this all goes to show that for many people, depression is something that is of mystery. It's something that I can't understand why it just happens, and I know I don't like it. But when you start to, like I said, distance yourself from this kind of um, phenomena, I would call it, then you can start putting the pieces of the puzzle together. And like I said, and I'll reiterate because I think it is important, those who are on medication and feel like it is truly helping them, I'm not doubting that. I'm not. Um, that's what human innovation is all about, right? Um, I'm not saying pharma is a scam or whatever, but I am saying for a lot of people who are, they can live their normal lives, but this kind of voice in the back of their mind is constantly pestering at them. I feel like these ideas ought to be explored. Um, you know, I really appreciate the idea of staying within the present moment. Um, you know, Depression for many people is, most gun violence in America is suicide. Most gun violence in America is suicide. So what does that tell you? We have more mental suffering in this country than physical suffering. And, while physical suffering is a conversation for another day, mental suffering is something that we can very much tackle. It's very preventable. You know, Ignoring physical suffering for 1 second, if I were to ask you, in this exact present moment watching this video, are you suffering? The answer is no. The real answer is no. In this present moment, there is no suffering. The suffering comes from your past, which is completely out of your control. It's set in stone, it's written in the books, and the future, the uncertainty of the future of like, what my life will bring. I'm sure if you ask yourself, would I be doing this, a week ago, you couldn't say yes. So it's that idea of letting go of these illusory, notions of time, past which has already happened and future which is unpredictable. Of course, we can do things in the present that will greatly impact the future, but to project yourself into the future of like this is going to happen and I know exactly this is going to happen, it's no good. It's really no good. With that being said, I've been rambling for way too long. I hope this helps a little bit, and I think, you know, the idea of human advancement is true. We have came such a far way, but I think it is equally as important to really dive deep within ourselves and to understand, you know, the why and the more important questions about our existence and our experience on this life. Um, do I think yes, it is harder nowadays to achieve that kind of state of just meditative? Of course it is, but I think it is still possible, and I found my own benefit to it, and I hope this can help at least one of you or maybe impact you in a positive way. But yeah, with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you.